ত্রিভুবনে করে যার চরণ বন্দনম।
জয় জয় জগন্নাথ সচিলতা ত্রিভুবন করে যা চরণ।
चेंज करो कोई।
न्यू स्लाइड।
नीलांचले शंख चक्र गदा पद्मधार। नीलांचले शंख चक्र गदा पद्मधार। नदिया नगरे दंड कमंडलकार। नदिया जय केह बोले पूरबे रावण बधिल। गोलकेर वैभव लीला प्रकाश करिला। बोले पूर्वे रावण बधिला। गोलकेर वैभव लीला प्रकाश श्रीराधेर भाव एवे गोरा अवतार। हरे कृष्ण नाम गौरा करिला प्रचार। भावे एवे गोरा अवतार। हरे कृष्ण नाम गौरा वासुदेव घोषे बोले कोरी जोड़ हाथ। जय गौरा से कृष्ण से जगन्नाथ। जीवन होइला शेष न भोजिल हृषिके। अकति विनोद देश एक नाम। क्या ये कहाँ से आ गया स्लाइड?
वासुदेव घोष वाला लास्ट है।
वही तो बोल रहा
प्रार्थना कर रहा है।
जय जय जगन्नाथ सचिदानंदन। शुरुआत करो फास्ट। जय गौरनिताय 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 जय गौरनिताय जय। जय निताय गौरंग जय निताय गौरंग निताय गौरंग जय निताय गौरंग जय। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जयो राधा वृंदावन चंद्र राधा वृंदावन चंद्र राधे जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय वृंदावन धाम जय वृंदावन धाम वृंदावन धाम, जय वृंदावन धाम। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद। जयं विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजगाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सुषमधि His Divine Grace सभे चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य बीबीटी फाउंडर आचार्य सेवरेट द होल वर्ल्ड जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। षट गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा वृंदावन चंद्र की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। गौर निताई की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 1, Text number 40. अहो पृथा अपि ध्रियते। अहो पृथापि ध्रियते अर्भका अर्थे। अहो पृथापि ध्रियते अर्भकार्थे। राजऋषि वर्येण विना अपि तेन। राजऋषि वर्येण विनापि तेन। राजऋषि वर्येण विनापि तेन। यः तु एका वीरः अधीरथः विजिज्ञे। यस्तु एक वीरो अधीरथो विजिज्ञे। धनुः द्वितीयः कुकुभः चतुर्षः। धनुर्द्वितीयः ककुभश्चतुर्षः। अहो पृथापि ध्रियते अर्भकार्थे। राजऋषि वर्येण विनापि तेन। यस्तु एक वीरो अधीरथो विजिज्ञे। धनुर्द्वितीया ककुभश्चतुर्षः। धनुर्द्वितीया ककुभश्चतुर्षः। Oh, O my Lord, Pritha Kunti, Api also Dhriyate bears her life, Arbhaka Arthe, for the sake of fatherless children, Rajarishi, King Pandu, Varyena, the best, Vinapi, without him, Tena, him, Yaha, one who, Tu, but, Eka, alone, Viraha, the warrior, Adhirathaha, commander, Vijigye, could conquer, Dhanuhu, the bow, Dvitiyaha, the second, Kukubaha, directions, Chatasraha, four. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. O my Lord, is Pritha still living? She lived only for the sake of her fatherless children. Otherwise, it was impossible for her to live without King Pandu, who was the greatest commander and who alone conquered the four directions simply with the help of a second bow. Kindly repeat the translation. O my Lord, is Pritha still living? She lived only for the sake of her fatherless children. Otherwise, it was impossible for her to live without King Pandu, who was the greatest commander and who alone conquered the four directions simply with the help of a second bow. Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. A faithful wife cannot live without her lord, the husband, and therefore all widows used to voluntarily embrace the burning fire which consumed the dead husband. This system was very common in India because all the wives were chaste and faithful to their husbands. Later on, with the advent of the age of Kali, the wives gradually began to be less adherent to their husbands, and the voluntary embrace of the fire by the widows became a thing of the past. Very recently, the system was abolished since the voluntary system had become a forcible social custom. When Maharaj Pandu died, both his wives, namely Kunti and Madari, were prepared to embrace the fire. But Madari requested Kunti to live for the sake of the younger children, the 5 Pandavas. This was agreed upon by Kunti at the added request of Vyasadeva. In spite of her great bereavement, Kunti decided to live, not to enjoy life in the absence of her husband, but only to give protection to the children. This incident is referred to here by Vidura because he knew all the facts about his sister-in-law Kunti Devi. It is understood that Maharaj Pandu was a great warrior and that he alone, with the help of bow and arrow, could conquer the world's 4 directions. In the absence of such a husband, it was almost impossible for Kunti to live on, even as a widow. But she had to do it for the sake of the 5 children. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Gnananjana Shalakaya चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। So this is a very important chapter. It is entitled as Questions by Vidura. So these, and of course this is a conversation going on between Vidura and Maitreya Rishi. And here Vidura is asking to Uddhava these questions. Because Vidura had been for a pilgrimage when the Mahabharat war, when it happened. On the plea of pilgrimage, he went to different places. He had heard that actually after the battle of Kurukshetra, practically everything is vanquished except for the Pandavas. But still, in his ecstasy, he is asking Uddhava, because now when he is asking Uddhava, the Lord has already wound his pastime and he has left this world. He has gone back to his own abode. But still, Vidura is not convinced about the departure of the Supreme Lord from this earth. So he's asking these different kinds of questions about the well-beings of Pandavas. So here particularly he is asking about the well-being of Mother Kunti, who is one of the very great devotees of the Supreme Lord. So we understand that in Bhagavatam, Kunti Maharani prayers are one of the very important prayers which we all recite. And Srila Prabhupada specifically gave even a lot of lectures on that, and that is now recorded as one of the books, Teachings of Queen Kunti, right? So, Vidura is asking about the welfare of Mother Kunti. So he's asking, Aho prutha api dhriyate arbhaka arthe. That actually Kunti Maharani had nothing else to survive and to live her life apart from giving protection to her children. Because the Raj Rishi, King Pandu, who was a great warrior, who could conquer all the four directions with bow and arrow in his hand. When such a great personality who was able to give protection to all and one, including his own wife, when he is no more there, Kunti had nothing to leave. Because a wife is called Ardhangini. She is better half of the husband. If one half is not there, the other half actually does not survive. Do we live with one hand, one leg? We don't live. Isn't it? Half of the body. So, in that sense, actually, it was a Vedic custom, as Prabhupada is saying. Two very important things Prabhupada is mentioning here. Faithful wife cannot live without her Lord, the husband. And therefore, all widows used to voluntarily embrace the burning fire which consumed the dead husband. So if half body is burning, it is not that half will survive. Correct. It is important to understand why in the Vedic system the wife would voluntarily embrace the burning fire. This system was very common in India because all the wives were chaste and faithful to their husbands. So this was very common. Wife was trained to be very faithful to husband, and husband was trained to be a great devotee of the Lord. This combination is a perfect combination. If the husband is a great devotee of the Lord, just by serving the husband, the wife would derive equal benefit of whatever husband has performed, because she is better half of the husband. So she derives all the benefits. So it was not required for her to live on after the husband passed away from this material world, after he has left his body. But what happened over a period of time, neither we find the husband to be a strong devotee, nor we find the wife to be very chaste and faithful to the husband. Because with the advent of Kali, all the kinds of faults creep in. It's not exactly the fault of the age, but circumstances are like that. And we fall victim to those circumstances. Because we are very weak. Kalau dosh nidhe rajan. It is an ocean of fault, Kali Yuga. So it's very difficult to revive that system. It's not practical to revive that original system, Vedic system. So we cannot just copy that system and think that, okay, so, this is how the system was there and let us revive it. And if the husband has passed away, let me voluntarily die. Because we don't find neither such a devoted husband, neither such a chaste and faithful wife. That combination is not very easy to find in this age of Kali. So the only means of deliverance in this age of Kali is, that's why to be dependent on the mercy of the holy name of the Lord. Asti hi eko mahan guna, kirtanadi eva krishnasya muktaha sangaha param vrajet. So that is the only means of how one can be delivered. Of course, we can try to learn some very, very important principles and try to apply as far as possible in our life from this Vedic system. Here, Prabhupada is giving the history as well as the important principle. So we find Vedic system, this is how it was. Later on, Prabhupada is explaining the wives were not very faithful and they were not very chaste. So they were not willing that along with my husband, let me also give up my body. But the system physically continued for some time. Even though the wife was not willing, the relatives and other people would force the wife to enter into the fire without her wish. This is contradictory because this was voluntary. It was not physical giving up of the body. What is so great about giving up this body? Isn't it? The most important principle was that the wife would understand that if my husband is not there, then what is there for me to live in this material world? And because the husband was a great devotee of the Lord, when he leaves the world, the wife similarly goes back to Godhead. Then for what she should live? Isn't it? So, over a period of time, when even though they were not mentally prepared, when they were not consciously willing, and still this system was enforced upon them, so then it became a kind of deviation from the original system. And later on, during the British times, this system was abolished. Later on, when India got independence, that same system continued, that this sati pratha, it was called as, wife entering into the fire, it was abolished. So what is the principle? So Prabhupada is saying here, the example of Madari and the example of Kunti Maharani illustrates that important principle. That what is favorable for Krishna consciousness should be adopted. Both of them were willing to give up their life. So Kunti Maharani had, in that sense, nothing to remain in this material world. It is not that my husband has gone away, now let me enjoy my life. That was not the system. Prabhupada gives that example several times, how the wife was faithful. Not only in the comforts of life, when there are difficulties in the life, husband and wife would always be together. We see this example in Ramayana itself. Prabhupada illustrates that Mother Sita could have said that this exile is for you. It is not for me. Isn't it? Mother Sita could have said that this exile is for you. And it's a fact. It was Lord Rama who was banished from the kingdom, not Sita. Mother Sita chose voluntarily to go with the husband, because that is how meaning of a chaste wife is. Not that you go to forest, I will go to my maike. I'll go to my mother's house, parents' house. Nowadays it is very common. The moment they find little problem, immediately the wife will go to her parents' house. That was not the system. Isn't it? Nowadays it is very, very common. Little problem and they would leave the husband and they will go back to their house. So, the important principle which Prabhupada is explaining here is that actually both Madhuri as well as Kunti, they were ready to give up their life. But Madhuri requested Kunti Maharani that you please live on to give protection to the children, even the sons of Madhuri. That you give protection to them. And I will voluntarily enter into the fire. I will give up my life. So Prabhupada is saying, even though it was still very difficult for Kunti to live on without her husband, it is a great tapasya to live on. It's not that she is thinking relieved. You die, somehow or other I am saved. After all, they understood what is there in this life. Is it so great to live on in this material world, this temporary material world? They were completely aware that actually we are not this body. We are spirit soul. Isn't it? The soul never dies. So what is there to live about? So this is a very important principle. Prabhupada is saying they did not live to enjoy life in the absence of husband. It's a very important principle. They did not live on so that I can enjoy my life in the absence of my husband. She lived on to give protection. The only reason. Otherwise, Prabhupada is saying it was very difficult for her to live. Prabhupada is saying here, when Maharaj Pandu died, both his wives, Kunti and Madhuri, were prepared to embrace the fire. But Madhuri requested Kunti to live for the sake of the younger children, the 5 Pandavas. This was agreed upon by Kunti at the added request of Vyasadeva. So great personality like Vyasadeva also requested Kunti Maharani to live on, to give protection to the children. So, next Prabhupada is saying, in spite of her great bereavement, Kunti decided to live, not to enjoy life in the absence of her husband, but only to give protection to the children. So this is a very important principle. So the whole idea is, what is favorable in Krishna consciousness should be adopted. What is not favorable should be rejected. This is one of the very important principles of surrender. So Kunti Maharani, even though actually it was very difficult for her to leave, and sometimes we may find that it may be very easy, that one may think if somebody is very dependent, let us say, on the husband, the wife may also at the same time think, not in the terms of principles of Vedic understanding, that what is there now to live, I have to live with bereavement, with so much distress. Let me not live. Let me give up my life. This is not the principle. This is also not correct understanding. If the wife is thinking, I will be distressed, always I'll be thinking, oh, my husband is not there, my husband is not there. So, isn't it? So just to give up that distress, that let me wind off this distress once for all. Why for so many years I have to think about him? Isn't it? I'm so attached to him. So let me better die. That is also not Krishna conscious principle. That is also sense gratification. Isn't it? So the whole Vedic understanding was completely different. So in Kali Yuga, we have to understand the important principles and apply in our life as far as possible. So, when we are not on that level, we should not imitate that kind of whatever different kinds of processes and prathas were there at that time. So we don't have to do that. Neither we find Prabhupada saying to the widows in Krishna consciousness that you also die along with your husband. We don't find. Do you find anywhere? Isn't it? Sometimes the husband has left the wife because of the influence of Kali, Maya, or sometimes he has left his body, but Prabhupada did not say that now your husband is no more, you also give up your life. Rather, Prabhupada taught the principle that in the absence of the husband, the wife need not live to enjoy her life, but can live her life completely dedicated to the Supreme Lord. And it is an important principle that when the husband is no more, the wife does not dress up very opulently. She lives a very simple life. For two important reasons. One is that actually the wife decorates herself not for the pleasure of the world, but for the pleasure of the husband. And it is not that after the husband has left, she is interested in looking very attractive. Actually, it will be disadvantage. Because if she is interested in Krishna consciousness, then there will be people. When the husband is there, at least people are restricted. And when the husband is not there, and if the wife is nicely decorated and everything, then actually she is inviting lusty people somehow or other who will approach. And they may approach in the garb of even a devotee. Isn't it? So in that sense, it is advisable, Prabhupada told them that actually better to live completely dedicated life for Krishna consciousness. So, this important principle is what we have to adopt in our life. That this is an age of Kali. It is filled with numerous faults. And whatever best I can follow the principles in this age of Kali Yuga, as it is given by the spiritual master. Because otherwise, we do not know how to apply these principles in our life. The meaning of Acharya is that according to time, place and circumstances, the Acharyas gives us the application of those principles. How to apply those principles in our life. Otherwise, we will be bewildered. We will be bewildered. Because we may think that why we are not following, if this was a Vedic principles, why in Krishna consciousness we are not following this principle? Isn't it? We may think like this. See, the most important thing is not the practice. Important thing is the principle and how to apply it. That the Acharyas know that. So, this is an important thing which Prabhupada is mentioning here. So what we have to see in our Krishna conscious life is that whatever we are doing, is it favorable in Krishna consciousness or not? So how can we apply? See, in Krishna consciousness, both the husband and wife, sometimes we find, even though we are in a married life, Maya is so strong that if we forget the most important principle that we have come here to advance in spiritual life, there is no doubt that even though we are married, even then there is good possibility that husband may also get diverted, wife may also get diverted. So, it is not at all a license for a grahastha. No, I am married, Prabhu, what is there? Isn't it? It's not a license for a grahastha that he can preach to young women. You see? It's not a license to grahastha. Which is a very important thing. Because sometimes we may do an eye wash for others, and even brahmacharis may also think, no, Prabhu, what is there? He is a grahastha. Let him preach. It's a very important thing. Maya is so strong, as I was saying, it is not like Vedic system, where the husband is a great devotee and wife is completely faithful. Both combinations are not there. Because if somebody is a great devotee, there is no question of deviation, isn't it? But otherwise it is very difficult. So, best is Matajis should be preached by the Matajis. That will be the best. Or Matajis can be preached in presence of others by even a brahmachari or grahastha. Very important thing to understand for a brahmachari when he is preaching to Matajis is, if somebody starts coming regularly, you have to be alert. If somebody is coming regularly, once in a while somebody comes and, you meet visitors, you meet some life members, you ask them to donate. It is different. But the moment somebody starts asking you questions regularly, brahmachari has to be alert. You may think that Mataji is married already, Prabhu. What is there? She's already married. No. Maya is so strong, married, unmarried does not matter. This age of Kali is like this. Isn't it? So it is important to follow the principles. We find so many examples even during Prabhupada's time. Husband is married and then he is eyeing another's wife. And Prabhupada is writing very strong letters. You can read that, you can. And probably many of the managers in Krishna consciousness would have also, those who are managing grahastas, and they would have also faced such kind of problems. So we have to be very alert. We should understand already Kali Yuga is filled with so many faults. And if we don't follow the principles given by Srila Prabhupada properly, then definitely, we are committing suicide. Even though such a wonderful opportunity and chance is given to us in this age of Kali Yuga, that simply by chanting the holy name and following just these 4 principles, not some great tapasyas. If you read Bhagavatam and if you see the life of Devahuti, you see the life of Kardama Muni, it's not possible. We cannot imitate that. Isn't it? You would have all read how Devahuti became skinny, following in the footsteps of the husband. How was Kardama Muni? How many years of, tapasya he had to perform. So in this age of Kali, by the grace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, who has further simplified the process of Krishna consciousness and given us only to chant minimum of 16 rounds and follow the 4 principles. If this much tapasya we cannot do, then it is very difficult. But if this much we can do, we can be assured that the influence of Kali will not affect us. If this much we can do. Follow the 4 regulative principles. At the time of taking initiation, we are giving a vow to the spiritual master. No illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating. 3 are easy, right? We don't break. 4th is very difficult. No illicit sex, very difficult. Prabhupada says that. Of course, at Prabhupada's time, we find those hippies sometimes going back to their old habit of smoking, all that thing. But generally, we don't find. But very difficult, because this whole material world is running because of attraction between male and female. Whole material world is, otherwise this material world will not run. This is called Maithuna Agar. So, the only safeguard for us is if we can chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, as given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Trinadapi sunichena taroriva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sada harihi. Then it will be possible that all the different faults of age of Kali Yuga we will be able to overcome. So devotee should think, for what I have come to Krishna consciousness. I gave up all these things of the material world to come to Krishna consciousness. Should I once again become attracted to this body? Isn't it? What is so great in that? What is the difference between me and Karmi? This one lifetime I cannot give up. At least let me try, isn't it? So, what happens is we also become very, we take it very lightly. That does not matter, I will chant the holy name and these things will go away. No. When we have given words to Prabhupada at the time of our initiation, we are supposed to follow that. At least try to follow that. We cannot think that Prabhupada will somehow or other, he will excuse me. How many times Prabhupada will excuse us? So voluntarily we cannot be. So, a few days back I was just reading that of course sometimes sincerely the devotees may try, and in spite of that accidental fall down may happen. If the devotee is repentant, then yes, it is possible that the Lord will excuse him. Srila Prabhupada may excuse him. If the devotee has no repentance, then he is willingly committing aparadh, offense. It's a great offense, one should think. So we'll stop with this Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Yes, you have some question. Yes. And sometimes opposite is also true. Husband is abusing the wife also is true. So it's not one-sided. We have so many examples even in Krishna consciousness. In management we deal with all that also. Yeah. Okay. So Prabhupada, when he saw the situation of today's world, accordingly he engaged them. Just like in the Vedic system, we don't find Matajis doing Pujari service, but Prabhupada did engage them. He gave them second initiation. We don't find in the Vedic system Matajis doing managerial services. Right? We don't. They were only doing household services. But Prabhupada engaged them. He made them sometime even temple presidents. So that is all according to time, place and circumstances. Make the best use of the bad bargain. It's a bad bargain. Whatever today's society is a bad bargain. Just make the best use of that. So when already it is there in the mind of a woman that equal right, just like in the Western countries, it is already there. And it is not possible or practical to make them reverse and go back to that Vedic system, because neither the husband is also not like that. They will also misuse that. Wife is submissive and the husband will dominate or try to abuse practically. So both way we find. Neither the husband is a great devotee, that he is able to understand the subordination of wife does not mean that I have to exploit my wife. He also does not understand. So that Vedic system is not practical in that sense. So Prabhupada tried to engage the best of whatever it is possible. Isn't it? So in whatever best capacity anyone can do any kind of services, keeping distance between male and female. Whatever best distance we can maintain, it is possible. Otherwise, this principle is very important. Fire and butter, never forget this. Fire is fire, butter is butter. You bring them together, it will melt. Butter will always melt. Isn't it? This is how it is compared. So that principle keeping in mind, we have to be practical and see how to engage, where to engage. And sometimes we find they are doing very wonderful services. So there is no such thing as that. And if we keep focus of Krishna consciousness, that I have to advance, we have come here together to advance, and always frictions will be there, some problems will be there, all those things will be there. We just have to minimize and keep marching ahead, and Prabhupada will help, Krishna will help, and we will be able to progress. Isn't it? Many of them have done very wonderful services. So many beautiful paintings you can see, all done by many Matajis also. So Prabhupada knew how to engage.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna.